We're going to make an important announcement today
All right, let's see it.
regarding the Bible and the Ten Commandments.
Don't do that.
My staff has been looking at Oklahoma statute. We've been looking at Oklahoma academic standards. And it's crystal clear to us that in the Oklahoma academic standards, under Title 70, multiple occasions, the Bible is a necessary historical document to teach our kids about the history of this country, to have a complete understanding of Western civilization.
There is absolutely no sense in which it is necessary to teach the contents of the Bible in order to adequately teach or learn about the history of this country or Western civilization. And there are absolutely no data anywhere that suggest education outcomes would be improved by teaching the contents of the Bible. Also, Oklahoma already has a statute within Title 70 that allows for elective courses on the Hebrew Bible and the New Testament. So the only change here would be making them compulsory, making them required. And neither this superintendent nor his staff nor anyone else can point to any data that indicates this will actually improve any education outcomes, because that's not the goal. This isn't about improving education outcomes. This is about identity markers and ensuring people understand who is in charge of these spaces.
To have an understanding of the basis of our legal system, and is frankly, when we're talking about the Bible, one of the most foundational documents used for the Constitution and the birth of our country.
So this state official is blithely and ignorantly spreading misinformation that they clearly got from social media and did not bother to verify. And I'm beginning to see where the failures in Oklahoma's education outcomes are rooted. This is misinformation that is based on research conducted by Donald Lutz and published in the early 1980s, specifically in this paper. And the way this is being represented on social media is this notion that the Founding Fathers quoted from the Bible more than any other document during the founding era. And this is misinformation because Lutz's research demonstrates that if you look at all publications from the Americas between 1760 and 1805, the Bible is cited or quoted from more than any other document. What that fails to take into account is that the overwhelming majority of those citations or references are coming from sermons that are being reprinted in newspapers. And Lutz points out that if you look at all of the Federalist and Anti-Federalist publications from between 1787 and 1788, the Federalists cite or quote from the Bible a grand total of 0% of the time. The Anti-Federalists cite or quote from the Bible 9% of the time. So the only people who are appealing to the Bible at all in the public debates about the Constitution are the people opposed to the Constitution. And we can look at the documentation from the Constitutional Convention and see that the Bible is not relevant. It is not brought up. There are only 2 times when religion is brought up at all during the Constitutional Convention. One, when Ben Franklin, halfway through, proposed, hey, let's get over this hurdle by beginning our sessions with prayer. And everybody else, and particularly Alexander Hamilton, said, nah, I'm good. And the only other time it was brought up was with the prohibition about religious tests for public office. And if you'd like a good discussion of religion in American politics, Frank Lambert's book is excellent. So this state official does not have the first clue what they're talking about. They're repeating stuff they saw on social media or that one of their subordinates told them about because they saw it on social media.
We also find major points in history that refer to the Bible, that reference the Bible. We see multiple figures, whether we're talking about the Federalist Papers, constitutional, conventional arguments, and Martin Luther King Jr., who use it as a tremendous impetus for the civil rights movement and tie many of those arguments back to the Bible.
This is a disingenuous, a callous, and a false rhetorical sleight of hand, trying to lump the Federalist Papers and the Constitutional Convention in with arguments about the civil rights movement. The Federalist Papers and the Constitutional Convention never bring up the Bible at all in any argument, much less in an argument about the civil rights movement. And the reference to Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. is disingenuous and callous because Martin Luther King Jr. was a preacher. Of course, he brought up the Bible, but he he also approached it through the lens of liberation theology to support his black social gospel movement, both of which stand diametrically opposed to this state official's attempts to structure power and values and boundaries in favor of right-wing authoritarianism and social dominance orientation. The reference to Martin Luther King Jr. is just an attempt to make it sound like he is concerned for the minoritized, the marginalized, and the oppressed, when he very clearly is not.
It is essential that our kids have an understanding of the Bible and its historical context.
Not only is this not true, but neither this official nor anyone subordinate to him is qualified to develop any such curriculum, nor would they allow a competent curriculum related to the historical context of the Bible to be produced, because it would entirely undermine the rhetorical goals of putting the Bible in all classrooms as an icon.
So we will be issuing a memo today that every school district will adhere to, which is that every teacher, every classroom in the state will have a Bible in the classroom and will be teaching from the Bible in the classroom to ensure that this historical understanding is there for every student in the state of Oklahoma in accordance with our academic standards and state law.
This is a pathetic and a misguided attempt to deploy the Bible as an idol in open and knuckle-dragging defiance of the actual principles that undergird the foundation of this nation.